The sea had ever been Peter Baelish's most capricious rival, a mirror too honest to flatter the sly smile he polished for courts and coin alike. On that wind-swept evening off the Fingers, it became his executioner. A squall rose from nowhere, shredding the silk-smooth dusk into snarling curtains of foam. One moment the gilt-rimmed galley queen of coins glided toward Gulltown with all the arrogance her owner could muster. The next she was a crippled gull herself, mast cracked, canvas thrashing, deck awash with screaming men. Lightning etched the sky and, for an instant, Peter saw his own ambitions reflected in jagged white. Bright, searing, gone before they could warm him. Water hammered the planks. A final boom, like vault doors slamming in the iron bank, and the ship folded, swallowed by a green mouth that cared nothing for enumerations of profit or loss. Casks bobbed like dice across a gaming table. Sailors flailed, vanishing beneath panes of glassy black shot through with moonlight. Peter clung to a spar, cold bit harder than any dagger ever had. He had always gambled with currents of power. Now the literal current dragged him under. The last coherent thought in his mind before darkness filled his lungs was bitter amusement. He had promised Lady Catelyn a truth wrapped in silk, had prepared lies wrapped in velvet, yet would deliver neither. Court would move without him. Ned Stark would face King's Landing alone. Dawn crept over the city on the day of the Hand's arrival like a cautious beggar, pale and shivering. King's Landing woke to its usual stink of tanners' vats and horse droppings, spiced today with a whiff of dread carried on rumors from the ports. A nobleman's galley dashed to pieces in a midnight gale. Names traveled faster than birds. The small folk repeated them with relish: Baelish, Littlefinger, Coincock, though none cared whether he lived or drowned, save the debts they might never repay. Eddard Stark knew none of this when the battered procession from Winterfell wound through the mud gate. He rode beside the royal litter, forced to match Robert's maudlin humor with nods and murmurs that felt like lies in his mouth. The capital seemed smaller than he remembered, its walls oddly frail after the silent bulwarks of the north. Yet inside those walls lurked dangers ice never held. Ambition uncloaked, tongues honed sharper than Valyrian steel, and secrets piled like wildfire beneath every cobble. Ned had counted on Peter Baelish to guide him through that maze. He and Cat had spoken in hushed chambers at Castle Blackgate during their parting. Littlefinger was an untrustworthy man, but a useful one. His knowledge of brothels and purses, his childish fixation on Catelyn's memory, made him predictable enough. His seat on the small council made him indispensable. Ned's honor would not allow friendship with such a creature, yet prudence demanded alliance. Now the space beside the Master of Coin's chair was conspicuously empty when Grand Maester Pycelle convened the meeting that very evening, and the other counselors exchanged glances like conspirators realizing the vault lay unguarded. Lord Renly's smile flickered. Our Peter must be rehearsing a grand entrance. Varys folded plump hands, eyes glistening. A mummer's entrance, perhaps, though I fear the drum of distant waves may have drowned his cue. Only Stannis Baratheon, grim as old iron, seemed unmoved. Coin is nothing, he grated. Ships wreck, men drown, the crown's ledgers remain. See them balanced. Ned's shoulders tightened. Robert sat at the far end, gulping arbor red, indifferent. Someone will find Baelish, the king muttered. Until then, my hand will see to the accounts. Thus Ned Stark inherited not merely office but chaos. Ports demanding tariffs remitted, guilds petitioning for loans, whispers of royal debts deeper than Blackwater Bay. Baelish's quills, neat and venomous, were locked in cedar drawers, yet the ink they had spilled threatened to drown the realm. Across the city, Catelyn Stark paced a cramped room in the chambers above Chataya's silk-draped brothel. By prearrangement, Peter was to meet her here in secrecy. Instead, only Chataya's daughter, Alayaya, had greeted her, soft-spoken and efficient, then vanished downstairs. Hours passed. The candles guttering left soot on the gilt mirror. Ser Roderick's white whiskers quivered each time the floorboard creaked in the hall. Yet no knock came. Grief, sharper than suspicion, tugged at Kat's heart. She had known Peter since girlhood. Despite all he had become, She could not wish the sea's black mouth upon him. Roderick cleared his throat. "My lady, we can tarry no longer. Lord Eddard must be warned of Lannister treachery. If Littlefinger cannot guide us, we shall find another path." Catelyn's hands clenched on the dagger Lord Tyrion was said to have sent. The chipped onyx pommel felt heavier without Peter's glib assurances that truth could be bought with coin and kisses. She eyed the window. Dawn-painted rooftops blood-red. Somewhere beyond them Ned trudged through marble corridors woven with spiderweb politics. She could not fail him, yet to stride into the Red Keep unannounced might set lions on her children before she spoke a word. Peter had promised safe passage. Promises now rotted beneath waves. Decision hardened. "We go to the Hand's quarters. If the gods want subtlety, they should not have sent Starks to this nest." The Hand's solar smelled of parchment and despair. Scrolls lay piled like fallen soldiers on a battlefield of oak. Ned stood over them, lamp casting harsh angles across his face. Hours of tallying revealed debts larger than Carhold, owed to houses whose patience measured in razor edges. He heard the door before he saw her. Catelyn swept in like a winter storm, cheeks flushed, hair awry. For a heartbeat the world contracted to browns and grays, her eyes and his sadness mingling. "Ned," she whispered.
"Cut."
He took her hands. Warmth bled life back into him. Then Roderick coughed, and reality returned. Murder attempts, missing coin masters, a kingdom ready to crack. They spoke in hurried bursts. Cat relayed the knife, the boy's fall, the sailors' tales of a storm-smashed galley bearing Baelish's crest. Ned outlined ledger entries scrawled in Peter's quick hand. Extortions masquerading as loans, treasure diverted to unknown ends. Without the architect to explain, the structure teetered. Roderick frowned. If Lord Baelish is drowned, who benefits most? Varys's soft voice drifted from the doorway. "Why, the realm, Sir Knight. If one considers debt a form of poison." He glided forward, robes whispering. Yet poison kills slowly, and masters may prefer swift blades.
Ned stiffened.
"Speak plainly." Plain speech is treason in some quarters. The eunuch bowed. "Still, his grace expects a feast in 2 days to honor the Hand. A feast costs coin. The crown has none. If Lord Baelish arranged credit, and that ledger sank with him, one might say the sea itself threatens revolt." Catelyn's gaze sharpened. Or someone insured the master of coin vanished to hide larger theft. An enchanting theory. Varys spread his hands. "I bring whispers only, of sails found adrift, of crewmen fished out near Massey's hook muttering of saboteurs. No names yet." Ned slammed a fist on the table. "Find them. I serve." The spider bowed again and melted away. Night fell like a hood. Torches sputtered in serpentine halls. Ned's escort of household guards was thinner than he liked. Men loyal to him were few. As he strode toward the king's apartments, Renly intercepted him, emerald cloak billowing. "Stark," a word. The younger Baratheon's grin masked tension. "The tourney of the Hand is in peril. Without Baelish's promised purses, no champion will joust." "Then cancel it. The realm can ill afford." Renly laughed. "Tell Robert that. He will have his games. If I might suggest, find silver quickly or the Hand's first decree will be his last." He strode off, leaving Ned with the feeling one more thread had slipped from his grasp. A mile north of the city walls, in a peasant's hut commandeered by gold cloaks, a sailor coughed seawater onto a dirt floor. Iron manacles bit his wrists. Captain Janos Slint watched with mild interest as the man struggled to speak under questioning. "Saboteurs," he wheezed. "They cut the bilge plugs. We tried. Patch." Storm came. His eyes rolled. Slint nodded to his sergeant. "See, he remembers more by morning." He turned away, fingered a purse heavy with Lannister gold, and smiled. Some wrecks were worth more than cargo. Within the Red Keep, the Queen watched candles gutter in a golden candelabrum shaped like lions. Cersei's green eyes glittered. Her brother Jaime leaned beside a window, armor reflecting moonlight. "So Baelish is truly gone," she mused. "A pity. He played the game well. Jaime shrugged. Another will rise. They always do. But we planted the seed, Cersei said. Gold wins storms as surely as swords win sieges. Jaime's smile curved. And now Eddard Stark will choke on figures he cannot decipher. He will beg for help or drown in debt. Cersei lifted her goblet. To debts, then. Unpaid, they make the finest blades. In the crypt-still dawn that followed, Ned knelt before the statue of the stranger in Baelor's September. He sought wisdom, yet found only echoes of his father's scream beneath the Mad King's fire, of vows made beside a heart tree thousands of leagues north. The city pressed like chains. Honor and prudence warred. Once, he had dreamed of leaving Southron crows to their carrion feasts. Now the carrion was his to carve. Footsteps rustled. Ser Barristan Selmy approached, white cloak trailing purity. My lord Hand, the king has summoned you to the yard. Ned rose. For what cause at this hour? A tilt. Barristan's lined face betrayed neither approval nor disdain. His grace demands practice before the tourney. Ned followed, silent. In the yard, Robert already thundered atop his warhorse, laughter booming as lances splintered against a straw dummy. Court watched, lords betting, ladies gasping at each crash. Coin flowed after all, Ned thought bitterly. But whose? He forced smile, offered counsel, endured jests. When the king dismounted, sweat-soaked and merry, Ned seized a sliver of privacy. Robert, the treasury is empty. Robert waved a meaty hand. Baelish has his ways. Baelish is lost at sea. The king halted, mirth draining. 7 hells. We owe 3 million to the Lannisters alone. Ned's voice was low. Cancel the tourney. Pay the city watch. Feed the small folk. Robert's eyes flared. I will not appear a pauper. Find the coin. From where? Anywhere. The king stalked off, rage simmering. Ned stood amid broken lances, realizing they mirrored his coming days. Splintered ideals, jagged ends thrust skyward, but still rooted in ground soaked with pride. Across the crowded slums of Flea Bottom, whispermongers spread news faster than plague. The master of coin was dead, they said. The crown's purse stolen by mermen. Taxes would rise. Riots were brewing. In torchlit cellars, men sharpened knives. In a dormer room above the White Stag Tavern, a woman with hair the color of river mud penned letters bearing wax seals of mockingbirds. Letters addressed to spies and bravos, to merchants in Old Town, to a Sellsword captain named Miles Toyne. Her name was Lisa Arryn, though the city believed her cloistered in the Eyrie. Secrets moved even when ships could not. That night, Ned Stark convened the small council again. Seats felt emptier than before. Pycelle droned warnings of harvest blight. Renly toyed with a golden rose mined elsewhere. Stannis' silence hardened to stone. Varys alone seemed content, fingers steepled. The king will not cancel the feast nor the tourney, Ned announced. Thus we must fund them. Renly smirked. Miracles are the High Septon's trade. Pycelle coughed. Mayhap a levy on lordly incomes. No, Ned's voice cut like northern wind. The realm starves. We bleed no more from small folk. We shall audit every crown expense. He unfurled scrolls. Debts, loans, bribes glimmered. Finger pointed. This payment to the sons of the Harpy Trading Company? Renly leaned. One of Baelish's phantoms, I suspect. Funds diverted to Braavosi bankers under false name. Ned's jaw tightened. We recall them. Braavos recalls with interest, Stannis warned. Then we repay with truth. Ned met their eyes. Expose the phantom, the debt dies. Silence. Pycelle's chains rattled. Varys smiled like a cat before spilled cream. A bold stratagem, my lord Hand. Yet those who profited may strike first. Let them. Ned rolled the scroll. Honesty is the blade they fear. Outside, thunder growled though skies were clear. Somewhere, maybe in a hut north of the walls, a sailor gave up a name under torture. Another blade found another throat. The game quickened. On Dragonstone, the sound of surf against basalt carried up to the chamber of the painted table. Melisandre watched the lord of the island brood over carved wood continents. "Storms come for those who sail treacherous waters," she whispered. Stannis looked up, eyes like flint. "Baelish's wreck? A sign." The red woman's ruby pulsed. "Light without shadow is blinding. Shadow without light is death. You, Lord, must be the flame that survives both." Stannis's fingers drummed the table. "If King's Landing burns, I will not weep. You will ride the ashes," Melisandre promised. "If you seize the hour." Catelyn Stark moved through the royal library under cover of dusk, guided by Arya, who had slipped guards as easily as shadows slip light. Dust motes danced in candle glow. Cat sought shipping ledgers, hoping Peter had left margins annotated with portmaster sigils. Instead, she found a slim, water-stained journal bound in cracked leather. The name on the first page, Peter. Notes scrawled in cipher, half washed away. Her heart thundered. Proof or bait? She tucked it beneath her cloak and fled. 1 week after the wreck, as King's Landing still reeled, a letter bearing House Tully's trout seal reached the Red Keep. It carried news from the Vale. Lisa wrote that Lord Baelish's galley was docked safely at Gulltown, hull scraped but whole, crew unharmed. Peter himself recuperated from a fever, too weak to travel. The city exhaled confusion. Ned, reading beside the black water of the keep's moat, recognized a deeper lie. Ships lost at sea do not beach themselves unbroken after a week. Someone forged the letter, or Baelish forged his death. He folded the parchment. Dawn mist rose, and in that mist he glimpsed the shape of the puzzle. A man who dealt illusions, a court that fed on them, a hand who must tear away veils before the kingdom suffocated beneath them. Ned turned toward the tower where his children slept. The path was long, the air heavy with scents of jasmine and rot. He would walk it, a wolf among perfumed vipers, while the sea kept its secrets and the Game of Thrones reset its pieces in the absence of the mockingbird who had thought himself indispensable. And high above the bay, gulls circled, their cries sounding much like laughter. End of part 1. Prompt me when you'd like the next portion and we'll continue exactly where this leaves off, deepening the intrigue and steadily unfolding the 5-hour saga. The gulls circled, cries fading into the hush of a gray morning that smelled of salt and secrets. Ned Stark watched them from the ramparts until their silhouettes dissolved in cloud, silent omens slipping beyond reach. Somewhere out there, the Queen of Coins lay broken beneath the waves, or so the small folk said. Yet letters claimed otherwise, and letters in King's Landing could be fashioned quicker than moonlight. Truth bobbed like a cork in turbulent water, never sinking, never staying still long enough to grasp. He turned from the parapet and descended the long stair of Maegor's Holdfast. Iron torches guttered in their brackets, smoke strands twisting like the thoughts crowding his mind. Baelish's absence gnawed at more than numbers. It tore holes in every rumor, every ledger, every whispered pact he tried to trace. The hand solar was dim when he entered. Catelyn knelt at a low table strewn with scraps of vellum and half-burnt candles, her face set in the calm of someone refusing despair. Beside her, Arya hunched on a stool 2 sizes too small, eyes bright with conspirators' fire. They had stayed up through the night deciphering Peter's journal, or what remained of it, water-stained pages spattered with salt like frozen tears. Ned closed the door. "Any progress?" Catelyn's quill paused. "Some." She lifted a page, lines of cramped Bravosi glyphs running between stains. He wrote in layers of cipher, ink over ink. Heated gently, the second hand fades and another appears beneath. Peter loved concealing truth beneath more attractive lies. Arya leaned forward. "He's got nicknames. Mummer, Falcon, Golden Lion, Milksnake, and Mockingbird symbols." She grinned fiercely. "I think Golden Lion is the queen." Catelyn shook her head, patient. "Golden Lion may be the family purse, not the queen herself. The cipher is riddles within riddles." "Time is not our friend," Ned said, though he hated the pressure in his own voice. "Robert will announce the feast preparations tonight. Varys whispers of riots if food prices rise 1 copper. If the city erupts, we may not reach the truth at all. Catelyn met his gaze. Then let us give the city something else to talk about. He frowned. What do you have in mind? A public gesture. You investigate in shadow. I illuminate a different corridor. Littlefinger's journal hints at hidden grain stores outside the walls. If we release those stores through the Faith's charity kitchens, the small folk will thank the hand, not curse him. Ned considered. We cannot seize private holdings without proof. Then we negotiate, she pressed. Offer fair coin. Put honest ledgers on display at every September. I know Father's bannermen in the Crownlands. Some will sell at cost for House Tully's sake. He nodded slowly. Arrange it. Use Roderick and Jory for escort. Take guards you trust. But be wary. If Baelish orchestrated these stores, he may have left snares. Arya's lips twitched. Can I come? Catelyn's no came the same instant Ned's perhaps formed on his tongue. He deferred to his lady with a rueful smile. Arya will remain in the keep, under watch. The girl scowled like a cornered cat. 2 floors below, Sansa Stark stepped from her chamber in a gown dyed the pale rose of dawn. Shafts of early light slanted across the corridor, catching the silver thread at her cuffs. She had chosen the dress carefully, modest enough to please Septa Mordane's memory, yet bright enough to catch a prince's eye should he pass. She almost collided with Sandor Clegane, the hound, his breath sour with last night's wine. Watch your step, he growled, though his hand steadied her elbow. My thanks, sir.
Im nonict.
He studied her. You're headed to the Queen. Yes, Her Grace invited me to break fast. Breakfast with lions. The hound's scar twitched. Keep your wits, little bird. Sansa swallowed. The nickname pricked. I will. The Queen's solar overflowed with silk cushions and murmuring ladies. Sansa took her place near Myrcella while Cersei Lannister reclined on a cushioned bench, golden hair spilling like molten coin across her shoulders. The Queen spoke softly of fashions from Lys, summer gardens, ports importing rare fruits. But the words bent subtly, weaving court gossip. The wreck, the missing master of. Coin, the dire debts. Sansa listened, cheeks warming each time the Queen's gaze caught hers, as though testing her for some invisible fault. At last Cersei set down her goblet. You northern girls are hardy. Tell me, Lady Sansa, what do you know of trade? Sansa blinked. My lady mother oversaw harvest accounts at Winterfell. She taught me. Women do much unseen, the Queen interrupted. A truth men forget. When they do, kingdoms tremble. Her smile was an unsheathed blade. Lord Baelish's death leaves a silence gold will rush to fill. Tell your Lord Father I should hate to see that silence broken by discord. Sansa bowed her head, heart thudding. I will, your grace. Later, escorted by 2 gold cloaks, she turned the words over like stones. The Queen threatened without threatening. And what message could she carry that Father did not already know? She wished for Jon's counsel or Robb's easy laughter. Instead, she had courtiers' smiles as thin as parchment and words as heavy as lead. In a windowless cell beneath the barracks, the sailor known as Harlan Fisher hung by his wrists while Janos Slint thumbed through a purse of fresh coin. The sailor's back dripped blood into the straw. A physician stood ready with ointment, ensuring the man lived long enough to answer more. I gave you the name, Harlan croaked. Mummer, he paid us. Slint's gaze was flat as slate. Describe him again. Tall, cloak the color of rust, Braavosi accent. Paid in Lannister gold, not coin of the Vale. Slint flicked a glance at his sergeant. Remove another nail. Screams pealed through corridors and faded to a whimper. Slint pocketed the purse and left. Outside, dusk bled crimson across the yard. The Lannister coin felt warm against his thigh. Far to the east, waves lapped a stony shore where no banner flew. Peter Baelish awoke with a cough that clawed salt from his lungs. Shattered planks lay strewn like bones. A gull perched upon the figurehead, carved in his own mockingbird sigil, then screeched and lifted. Pain seared his ribs. Some were cracked. Yet pain proved life, and life was coin to spend. Footprints mottled the sand beyond him. Barefoot prints, narrow-heeled, unhurried. Not rescuers, then, captors. He eased to his knees, vision tilting. A bandage bound his thigh. Someone had seen to the gash. Gratitude trickled through caution. Voices drifted from a tree-line of twisted pines. Guttural, speaking the dialect of Tyrosh cell sales. He licked cracked lips. Tyrosh had no claim here. Mercenaries roamed where Coin beckoned. And Coin whispered in Peter's purse louder than screams in Flea Bottom. A man stepped into view, mail shirt glinting blue. A crimson silk scarf masked his hair. Miles Toyne of the Golden Company, if Peter's memory served. But the Golden Company had marched west weeks past. Peter squinted. The sigil on the man's cloak showed 3 bronze serpents entwined. The Second Sons. Sells-words known for changing sides as easily as breezes shifted sails. The captain approached. "You live." His Westerosi carried a Roynish cadence. "I dislike wasting good hostages." "Your name?" "A dead man's," Peter rasped. "Better you call me Coin." The captain laughed. "Coin we have. Names purchase more." Peter forced a smile through cracked lips. "Peter Baelish, Master of Coin to His Grace King Robert Baratheon. I can purchase you kingdoms." The Sells-word's eyes kindled. "A bold claim from Driftwood. Boldness built the Red Keep's debts that drown it," Peter said. "Ransom me to King's Landing and debt becomes fortune for you." The captain knelt, studying him. "Or sell you to the Lannisters, who pay promptly." "Lannisters pay once." Peter leaned forward, ignoring the scream of ribs. "Serve me and you'll drink gold for years." "Serve you? You float between life and seaweed." Peter's tongue found a chipped tooth. "The seaweed will dry. Ambition never." After a moment, the captain nodded to 2 men. "Bind him gently. We sail at dusk." Peter allowed himself a breath. Survival purchased, the next investment beckoned. He closed his eyes, mind racing ahead of the galley unfurling her black-bordered sails. In the Red Keep's rookery, Maester's ravens croaked as Grand Maester Pycelle penned reports heavy with wax and self-importance. The parchment detailed looming shortages, yet ended with curlicues praising the Queen's foresight in securing grain from the Westerlands. Pycelle dabbed sand across the ink and muttered a prayer that old bones break before new winds. A soft step sounded. Varys stood in the doorway, hands hidden in lavender sleeves. "Maester, your words ring noble as temple bells." Pycelle puffed. "Bells that warn of famine, Lord Varys, or bells that drown a softer note." The eunuch smiled. "You commit your counsel to ink. Ink lasts." "As it should." Pycelle's beard quivered. "The realm relies on record." "Indeed, records anchor guilt." Varys approached a perch, stroked a raven's feathers. "I wonder which ledgers you have chosen not to keep." Pycelle's quill froze. "I beg your—" "I counsel secrecy," Varys said softly. "Some truths weighed too early crush fragile alliances." The maester frowned.
You propose omission.
"I propose life," Varys answered. "And lives preserved are words unwritten." He bowed slightly and drifted out, leaving the maester staring at his own script as though it were a dagger poised above his neck. Atop the White Sword Tower, Ser Jaime Lannister traced whetstone along the edge of his longsword, each rasp a metronome for thought. The Kingsguard quarters overlooked a city bursting with rumors, and Jaime drank them like sour wine. Littlefinger drowned, yet letters denied it. Sailors tortured, yet courts sang. And amid the noise Ned Stark walked as though truth were a straight road, unaware each cobble might tilt. Jaime almost pitied the man. Almost. Ser Barristan joined him, armor gleaming though the hour neared midnight. "The hand hunts phantoms." Jaime smirked. "Some phantoms stab. If Lord Baelish lives, he must be recovered." Jaime flicked filings from the blade. "You volunteer to sail?" "My place is beside the king," Barristan said. "But should the council send me, I go." Jaime's smile faded. "Then pray they send another. The sea is less forgiving than Ares ever was." Barristan's brows drew together, old lines deepening. "The sea," Ser Jaime, hides nothing forever. Beyond the city wall at the foot of Aegon's high hill, a modest sept served the poorest. That dawn a line of rag-wrapped mothers wound to its doors where barrels of barley and sacks of salt pork were handed out under the eye of septons. Ned watched from horseback, cloak pulled against drizzle. Catelyn stood beside the high septon, her hood thrown back despite rain, greeting each beggar as though receiving bannermen in Riverrun's hall. A woman missing 2 fingers knelt before Cat, clutching the hem of her cloak. "Bless you, milady. My babes will live." Tears glimmered on Catelyn's lashes. She helped the woman stand, pressed a pouch into her palm. Ned felt warmth spread in his chest. The gesture cost little relative to the crown's debts, yet gained trust coin could never buy. Whispers would reach taverns. The wolf lady feeds children. In courts where blades replaced prayers, such whispers forged armor. He dismounted as Catelyn approached. "You should rest," he told her, seeing fatigue etched beneath her brave poise. "I will when the grain is gone." Her smile was weary but alive. "Word has spread. By dusk we'll need more wagons. I'll arrange them." He took her hands. "You make hope look easy." She squeezed back. "Hope is stone, Ned. Heavy, but it builds keeps." In a narrow alley behind the Street of Silk, Arya Stark ducked beneath a tangle of washing lines, needle tucked in her sleeve. She had slipped past guards determined to keep her safe. Grown-ups never learned. Her quarry this day was knowledge. The old smuggler she'd spied from her window boasted that he'd ferried survivors of a wreck. Arya meant to learn names. She found him at a wine stall, red cheeks shining through stubble. She sidled near, listening. He laughed of storms and coin and a man with a mockingbird brooch. Arya's heart hammered. She edged closer, almost unseen, until a fat sailor jostled her and spoiled the angle. The smuggler's eyes found her. He frowned. She bolted, dashing between barrels. Heavy boots thundered after her. She vaulted a butcher's table, skidded through entrails, heard curses royal like thunder. Breath burned her lungs. Down a step under a veil of hanging rugs, into a courtyard appending with squawking hens. She flung herself over a wall. On the far side, an empty street yawned. She crouched behind a cart, heart pounding. The boots faded. After a moment, she straightened. In her palm lay a tarnished copper dropped in the chase, stamped with a mockingbird. Proof? Or mere bauble? She tucked it into her jerkin and began the long trek back to the castle before anyone missed her. That evening, the small council gathered in the Tower of the Hand. Robert attended, cheeks flushed from the hunt, yet sober enough to care. Ned presented scrolls listing seized grain, noting each purchase, each price. The faith distributes food. The city is calm. Renly clapped. "Our brother the king owes thanks." Robert grunted. "Feed them today, they'll beg tomorrow." "Where's my feast?" "We can fund it," Ned said, "provided we cancel the tourney's purse. Let knights joust for honor." Laughter bloomed around the table. Renly's bright, Pycelle's wheezing, even Varys's breathy amusement. Robert slammed a goblet. "Honor puts no roast on platters. You will find the coin, Ned, or I'll damn well find a hand who will." Ned's jaw clenched. "Then borrow again from Lord Tywin." Silence snapped tight. Robert's face reddened. "You know I will not," he muttered. Varys spoke gently. "Perhaps alternative patronage?" The Tyrell coffers bloom. Renly brightened. House Tyrell would fund a tourney fit for spring. Stannis's voice cut through. "And bind the throne in debt to Highgarden." His disdain was palpable. Robert waved a dismissive hand. "A dance of roses never hurt anyone. Make it so." Ned opened his mouth to protest, but Cersei's smile caught him. She lounged across from him, eyes triumphant. He closed the ledger. "As you command." After the meeting broke, Stannis lingered beside Ned. "You play their game poorly. I am no player. Then you'll lose." Stannis's expression did not change. "Trust no one. Not even you?" Stannis considered. "Especially not me. Duty flows one way, to the throne. You stand in its shadow, Lord Stark. Shadows swallow. He left without further word. Ned watched him go, uneasy. Duty bound him too, to Robert, to snowbound memories, to honor. Shadows lengthened. 3 nights later, beneath a crescent moon, Catelyn Stark deciphered the last hidden line of Peter's journal. Ink revealed itself in lemon juice fumes, letters curling. When the master falls, the players will move for the rook. She reread, pulse quickening. The rook sigil of House Arryn. Lisa, or young Robert Arryn, trembling boy lord? Peter once loved Lisa, used her. Could he plan to control the Eyrie through chaos in the capital? Roderick peered over her shoulder. A threat, my lady? A plan. She rose. He means to set the veil against the crown, perhaps to force Robert's hand for loans. Roderick stroked whiskers. Then we warn Lord Eddard. I will. She glanced at the shuttered window. A breeze rattled panes like dice. But first we must learn whether Peter lives. If he does, he may already sow discord. On the stepstones, Peter Baelish warmed his hands over a brazier in the cabin of the second son's galley. Captain Corrado, he had learned the name, sat opposite, sharpening a dagger of mirrored steel. Peter spoke casually. You've served Sellsword companies long? Long enough to savor betrayal. The captain tested the edge. Then savor profit instead. Peter unfurled a small parchment inked during the sale. An outline of the Vale's mountain passes, with ciphers marking gold shipments. The Eyries' young lord dislikes counting. Convince House Arryn their coin is threatened, and they will hire you for escort. Then convince their enemies the Arryns plan attack. They'll hire you doubly. Sell protection to both sides. Corrado's brows rose. Risky. War is risk, Peter murmured. Peace obscures profit. Your men grow fat when swords sing. And where do you fit? He slid a ring from his pocket. Silver, set with a faceted fire opal. Deliver this to Lady Lisa Arryn. Tell her the mockingbird lives and seeks his wings. She will pay. Corrado turned the ring in lamplight. If she does not? Peter's smile curved like a scythe. Then the Vale will pay in blood, and you will collect bones to sell as relics. Either way, fortune smiles. Both new smiles were knives. The bargain sealed. In King's Landing, Arya placed the mockingbird coin on Sansa's palm. They stood in a linen storeroom, torch guttering. Where did you get this? Sansa asked, whisper sharp. From a smuggler who saw the wreck survivors. Peter's sigil. Sansa's eyes widened. Then Ser Baelish may be alive. Or someone wants us to think so. They stared at each other, sisters bound by blood and fear, before hiding the coin beneath loose boards and slipping back to their chambers. Across the hall, a shadow moved. Sandor Clegane watched them leave, interest flickering behind burned flesh. At sunrise, Ned strode into the city watch barracks unannounced, 6 of his own guard behind him. Janos Slynt appeared, surprised and scowling.
Ned wasted no courtesy.
I want the sailor prisoner. Slynt's mouth twisted. The man died, my lord. Wounds too grave. Ned's eyes hardened. Show me the body. Reluctantly, Slynt led him to a shed smelling of rot. A corpse lay on a bier, face bruised, fingernails torn. But Ned had seen death. This looked staged. The smell was pig's blood poured upon a cooled body. He lifted the man's hand. Right index missing, pink flesh too clean. A smith's blade did this, not torture, he said quietly. Slynt shrugged. He was just a sailor. Who killed him? Could be he slipped his shackles. Fell. The captain met Ned's gaze with practiced boredom. King's Landing is dangerous. So am I.
Ned stood.
This investigation falls to my guard now. Any man obstructing me obstructs the hand. Slynt's smile did not reach his eyes. Of course. Outside, Ned exhaled. Each discovery bred darker questions. If Littlefinger had staged his death, gold cloaks destroyed witnesses. If not, others used his absence to tighten clawed fingers around the throne. The feast arrived with obscene splendor. Torches turned the throne room into a furnace of echoes. Tyrell servants unloaded carts of sweet wine, peacock pies, cherry sauces. Musicians from Highgarden played lutes gilded in silver. Robert roared approval, cheeks aflame. Cersei glittered at his side, her laughter sweet as arsenic. Ned took his seat near the dais, scanning faces. Stannis absent. Storms kept him on Dragonstone. Renly preened amid throngs of Reach Knights. Pycelle nodded drowsily. Varys floated like silk. The first course appeared, duck glazed in honey and mint. Sansa leaned to catastrophize details about table etiquette and silently thanked Arya for pinching her leg when she almost spilled mead. Across the hall, Cat conversed with Ser Barristan about autumn trout. It looked like peace, smelled like war. Halfway through the third course, a boar stuffed with apples. Grand Maester Pycelle rose, chain chiming. Your Grace, tidings from the narrow sea. A ship flying Valentine colors arrived at dawn, bearing a passenger of some note. Robert wiped grease from beard. Speak, old man. Pycelle opened a scroll. Ser Peter Baelish, Lord of Harrenhal, Master of Coin, survived the wreck. He approaches the city by carriage as we dine. Silence rippled, then wary applause. Robert hooted. My mockingbird lives. Let him come drink with us. Ned's stomach clenched. Cersei's green eyes flicked to him, lips curving faintly. Renly laughed, yet tension lined his posture. Varys folded his hands beneath voluminous sleeves, gaze unreadable. Catelyn squeezed Ned's arm beneath the table. Prepare, she whispered. He nodded once, heart thudding. Whatever storm followed, Littlefinger sailed at its prow. Moonlight silvered the cobbles outside the Gate of the Gods when Peter's black carriage rolled through, lanterns swaying. Guards exchanged uneasy glances, lowering pikes to admit him. Within, Peter adjusted a fresh doublet dyed the rich blue of House Baelish, every button a mockingbird. Bruises painted his throat, but his smile gleamed. The carriage halted beneath the red keep. Peter emerged, leaning on a cane. Thunder rumbling in distance lent drama as he mounted steps flanked by torches. Gold cloaks saluted. He inclined his head, regal in humility. Varys met him outside the throne room doors. Lord Baelish, the realm rejoices. Peter's grin flashed. The realm adores a good tragedy until the hero returns. Hero? Varys's brow lifted. A man spared by the sea must surely serve the mother's mercy, Peter said. Tell me, do heroes still find welcome here? Varys gestured. We shall see. Doors swung open. Heat and noise flooded the antechamber. Peter stepped into the hall, cane tapping, eyes drinking in every reaction. Renly's raised brow, Pycelle's sigh of relief, Robert's merry shout, Cersei's poised curiosity, and Ned Stark, stone-faced winter come south. Peter bowed deeply. Your Grace, forgive my tardiness. The tides were discourteous. Robert clapped hands. Come, friend. See, drink. Peter accepted a goblet, sipped. The wine tastes finer when survival sweetens it. Ned's voice cut across. Survival demands explanation. Peter turned, eyes warm as coals cloaked in ash. Of course, Lord Stark. I shall answer every question. But first, may I present a gift? He gestured, and servants rolled forward a small chest banded in silver. A token of gratitude to his grace, the profits of a venture I negotiated before my voyage. Spice and silk shipments from Volantis. Enough profit to fund a tourney thrice over. The hall erupted with cheers. Robert's laughter boomed. Cersei clinked goblet to Robert's with polished delight. Renly applauded. Only Ned remained unmoved. Peter approached him. I owe you special thanks, my lord, for tending to the realm in my forced absence. Your honor is legend. And your schemes, Ned replied, voice low.
Zelosti.
You prosper. Explain the wreck. Sabotage, Peter said softly. I uncovered irregularities in the crown's ledgers, irregularities implicating powerful men. They feared exposure, so they hired cell sails to scuttle my galley in Storm's guise. Ned's pulse hammered. Names. Peter's eyes flicked toward Cersei, lingered a heartbeat, then to Renly, and at last to Varys. Too soon. Proof first, accusations after. I survived to find that proof. He smiled thinly. With your help, Lord Stark, justice will prevail. Ned wanted to seize him by the collar, drag him before his dead sailor witness, rip truth from his tongue. But the hall roared approval. Robert hailed Peter's cunning. Any public confrontation now would brand Ned jealous or mad.
Honor Chand.
Peter sensed his dilemma. He leaned closer, whispered ghost-like. The board resets, my lord. Every piece moves anew. Play wisely. He withdrew, joining Renly's circle. Laughter swelled. Ned stepped back, breath ragged. From a shadow behind a column, Catelyn watched Eder with eyes that held both relief and dread. Later, torches dimming, Varys glided to the balcony overlooking the dark city. Peter joined him, cloak fluttering. The sea was unkind, Varys murmured. It taught humility. Peter's fingers traced the balcony's cold stone and revealed who wishes me drowned. Many wish many things. Peter's grin showed teeth. But only some pay assassins. And some pay actors, Varys countered. To play corpses while the real men hide. Actors should mind their curtain calls. Peter gazed at the black river ribboning below. The next act will be glorious. Varys sighed, almost sorrowful. Glory feeds on corpses. I pray the realm survives your performance. Peter's eyes gleamed. The realm is the stage, not the audience. He turned, cane tapping into the shadows, leaving Varys alone with the wind. In their chamber, Cat and Ned argued in hushed tones while moonlight spilled like milk across the bed. He lies, Ned insisted. Perhaps, Cat allowed. But we need him. If he names Lannister plots, we gain leverage. Or fall deeper into webs. You can weave your own. She cupped his cheek. Use Peter's hubris. Feed him truths that serve us. Ned closed his eyes. I swore never to trade in secrets. She kissed his brow. Swear to protect our children instead. The game plays whether you sit or move. Better to move. Outside, thunder growled again, though skies were clear. Ned opened his eyes to darkness, hearing the sound as footsteps descending endless stairs. At dawn, the ravens screamed. Ned rose, dread pooling even before he unrolled the parchment bound in green ribbon. The sigil, a golden rose, Highgarden's wax. Inside, words bloomed like poison poppies. His Grace King Robert Baratheon hereby invites all knights and champions to the Grand Tourney of the Hand, sponsored jointly by Houses Baratheon, Tyrell, and Baelish. Purses totaling 80,000 gold honors. Lists open on the morrow. 80,000. More than enough to fund the city granaries twice over. Ned crushed the scroll. Baelish's chest of Volantine profit bought this spectacle. Or so Peter claimed. Yet he had just returned. No man rabbits coin from wreckage overnight, unless the wreck was theater. Before Ned could summon his council, Peter arrived at the Solar, cloak damp from fog, journal pages in hand. Found this drifting near the wreck. He laid them on the desk, Baelish's own ledger pages, charred. Proof someone sought my secrets. Ned stared. You keep copies of your ledgers aboard your ship? Peter's shrug was art. One must study figures during voyages. He seated himself without invitation. I propose a joint effort, my lord, your honor, my arithmetic. We chase debt together, expose the saboteurs. Ned folded arms. Your price. Trust. Peter smiled. And a seat at the table where truth is served. You never sit anywhere without carving a slice. Peter tipped his head. Then carve alongside me. Ned studied him. The hunger behind Peter's courteous mask glinted like a wolf's eyes at twilight. But hunger could be baited. Very well. Begin by giving me names of sailors who survived. Peter's brow creased. Alas, most perished. 2 reached the stepstones, yet quarreled with Tyroshi pirates and died. Their names lost. Ned's pulse flared. Lies. He had seen a sailor tortured, murdered. Proof. He forced calm. Then produced the ship's manifest. In due time, Peter rose. First, the tourney. Funds flow. Suspicion sleeps when pockets jingle. Ned watched him leave, mind racing. Peter's game spread like wildfire. He needed allies untainted by Lannister or Littlefinger coin. Stannis perhaps, yet remote. Barristan maybe. Unlikely Renly. Varys? A spider served only his web. Northmen? Few in the city. A rap on the door. Arya entered, clutching a note. "From the Hound," she said, brow furrowed. Ned unfolded crude parchment. "Your daughter skulks in alleys. Keep her close. Spiders spin when flies wander."
Ned exhaled.
Even foes guarded secrets now. He knelt before Arya. "Promise me you will stay within the keep." She bit her lip. "The keep is where webs are." Still, his voice cracked. "Promise. I promise." Her eyes burned with unspoken challenge. Wolves were not born to cages, he knew. Yet cages sometimes saved lives. On Dragonstone, Stannis watched red-eyed dawn stain the sky. Melisandre joined him atop battlements slick with spray. "The mockingbird flies again," she murmured. "He will sing for gold," Stannis answered. "Gold buys swords," she said, "but fire wins wars. Let the others gild their pageants. You must cleanse the rot." Stannis studied the horizon. When the shadow meets the flame, her ruby pulsed. Soon, he turned away, jaw set. Let courts preen. Storms hammered stone into resolve. South of him, the realm played tournaments. He would build pyres. Night deepened over King's Landing. In a shuttered room off the Street of Flower, Janos Slynt met with a hooded figure whose cloak bore no sigil. Coins exchanged hands. The hood spoke few words. "The mockingbird roosts. Clip his feathers." Slynt pocketed gold. "Accident at the lists? Dogs bite, horses kick, torches fall. Make it loud." Slynt nodded. "Done." The hood vanished. Slynt weighed the purse. Gold always smelled the same, like fear disguised as power. He tucked the coins away, mind calculating guard rotations at the tourney grounds. 2 days before the lists opened, Ned found Cersei alone in the Godswood Pavilion, an imported attempt at northern sanctity, weeping willows and ash trees ringed by marble. She caressed a crimson blossom plucked from a summer rose. "Your Grace." Ned inclined his head. She smiled thinly. "These southern gods have no ears for Starks, I fear. I did not come to pray."
"No."
She traced the blossom's petal with a fingernail. "You came to warn, perhaps? Or threaten?" "Your sons," he said softly, "are at risk. The tourney may hide dangers." She laughed, low and musical. "A mother shields her cubs. But you speak of danger like a man expecting arrows in every cloud. In King's Landing clouds rain daggers." Cersei drifted closer. "Perhaps you misjudge. Daggers point both directions. Accept alliances rather than tilt at windmills. Accept Lannister loans? Accept reality," she purred. "Gold undergirds power. Littlefinger understands. Renly understands. Even Pycelle. And yet power built on debt crumbles. Then build new foundations. My father's vaults stand firm." Ned met her emerald gaze. "I've seen castles tumble, though their stones were strong. They lacked honor as mortar." Her smile cooled. "Honor." She flicked the blossom into the fountain. "Steel shatters stone. Gold melts it. But honor is wind, felt yet unseen. And wind cannot hold walls." Ned bowed and left, heart heavy with the knowledge she was partly right. Honor could not balance ledgers or feed small folk. But without honor, kingdoms were carcasses for crows. Tourney day dawned bright as a polished helm. The makeshift arena sprawled outside the Dragon Gate, stands draped in banners. Lion crimson, rose green, falcon sky blue, sunspear orange. Peasants filled bleachers, eyes hungry for spectacle.
Merchants hooked roasted nuts, minted ale.
Knights paraded in enameled armor, plumes streaming. Peter Baelish moved among them like a conductor, ensuring purses weighed correct. He greeted Lord Rowan, whispered promises to Ser Garland Tyrell, teased Lady Tanda, poured flattery as easily as wine. Each smile purchased a sliver of loyalty, each coin a shard of silence. In the hands box, Ned sat rigid beside Robert, who guzzled wine before noon. Sansa and Arya perched behind, cloaks drawn though sun beat down. Catelyn spoke quietly with Barristan Selmy, analyzing each rider's sigil. Cersei reclined near the king, golden parasol shading her. The first joust thundered. Splinters flew in sunlight. Crowds roared. Beneath cheers, Ned's eyes scanned, watching for sabotage, assassins, stray arrows. At his feet, a dire wolf carved from weirwood served as armrest, but its lips seemed to curl in warning. Third tilt. Ser Harlan Hornwood unhorsed by Ser Loras Tyrell. Fourth. Ser Balon Swan against Ser Brynden Tully Squire. Shouts rose and fell like waves. The fifth tilt paired Ser Gregor Clegane against Ser Hugh of the Vale. Catelyn's breath caught. She recalled the boy's easy smile in the Red Keep. His armor shone new. Too new. The signal dropped. Horses thundered. Gregor's lance struck Hugh's throat where gorget met breastplate. Would burst in a bloom of scarlet. Hugh toppled, blood sprang. The crowd gasped. Ned surged to his feet, but Hugh was dead before he hit dust. Whispers spread. Armor ill-fitted? Coins saved on rivets? Sabotage? Ned's gaze lashed to Peter. The mockingbird watched calmly, calculating. Robert ordered more wine. The justs continued. Death whetted appetite. Bets doubled. Ned tasted bile. At dusk, archers competed. Sansa's eyes widened at the skill. Shafts splitting shafts. A black-cloaked archer she did not know one. Observers whispered of Storm's end skill. Ned recorded names. Then melee. A ring of 20 knights. Steel rang like church bells. Dust clouded. Sun set. Torches ignited. By torchlight, the final bouts dazzled. Renly's champion Ser Loras dancing around larger foes until a brute with boar tusks on helm smashed him unconscious. The brute removed helm. Brienne of Tarth, sweating but proud. Laughter, cheers, booze, coin thrown. Robert declared the day's purses paid. Peter distributed gold. Torches flared. Stands emptied. Ned's guard escorted him through throngs toward the keep. Somewhere a minstrel played a sad tune on high harp. Near the stables a figure in hood approached. Captain Jory stepped ahead, hand on hilt, but the hooded one pressed a token into Ned's palm and melted into darkness. Ned opened his fist. A sailor's finger bone with ring of black iron. Chill crawled his spine. That night he laid the bone upon his desk beside Peter's burned ledger pages. Proof coalesced like frost on grass. A murdered sailor, a forged ledger, a staged wreck. Yet still he could not name the puppeteer with certainty. Wind rattled shutters. He felt the walls cold though leagues south. And he realized. Littlefinger's storm was just beginning. The sea's first wave had washed ashore, but the tide behind it carried darker things. Secrets, debts, corpses. To stand, he would need allies unbound by gold or fear, but by trust stronger than steel. Northmen, perhaps, or wolves. He reached for quill and parchment to summon a name he had hoped never to call. Howland Reed. Secrets born in the Tower of Joy might break present chains. Yet old promises bled when reopened. Ink pooled, black as the sea that swallowed light. Ned wrote anyway. Duty exceeded pain. In a cellar beneath the Dragon Pit ruins, Peter Baelish knelt before a wooden board carved with squares. Captain Corrado opposite placed small figurines. King, Queen, Rook. Peter flicked the mockingbird ring between fingers. The rook stands. He set the rook at center. The king wavers. He nudged the king piece sideways. The queen hunts. He pushed the queen along a diagonal path that ended beside the rook. But the bishop, he produced a new piece, feathered helm. Moves unseen. He placed it behind the rook. Then with 2 fingers he toppled the rook. Corrado watched, bemused. Meaning, Peter said, collecting pieces. Every board requires sacrifice before victory. He met the Sellsword's eyes. Tomorrow a bishop will fall. The crowd will roar. And amidst their roar, we collect. He poured gold coins across the board. They clattered like bones. Corrado grinned. Who dies? Peter's smile was winter moonlight, the one who serves honor above profit. At dawn, ravens stirred restlessly. Ned could not sleep. He donned cloak, walked corridors. In the training yard, Arya practiced water dancing with stick in dim light. She bowed when she saw him. "You are up early," Ned said. "Couldn't rest," she replied, wiping sweat. He crouched to her height. "You must be cautious. I can fight." "I know, but wars are not won by swords alone. Promise me you will stay near Septa." "Promise." "I promise." Sincerity in her gray eyes. He rose. "Good. Now show me your form." He watched her flow through steps, pride warring fear. She looked so much like Lyanna in that moment it hurt. Second days just saw knights ride harder. Rumor of Hugh's death sharpened lances. Peter spread purses thicker, knowing blood excited wagers.
Ned again what's it? Muscles taut.
In the sixth tilt, Jaime Lannister faced Bronn of the Blackwater, recruited by Renly for spectacle. Steel flashed. Jaime unhorsed Bronn, laughter in his voice. No deaths yet. At midday, Ned felt a prickle. He scanned stands. Saw Janos Slint speaking to a torchbearer near the royal box. The man carried a cask of oil instead of water. Odd. Ned rose as the next pair thundered. Ser Loras, newly recovered, versus a mystery knight in plain white armor. Lances crossed. At impact, a spark shower burst from Loras's splintering lance. Resin-laced wood combusted, flames licking saddlecloth. Horse reared. Loras tumbled, cloak ablaze. Screams erupted. Oil torch tipped above, set to fall onto seating. Ned lunged, seizing the bearer. Torch clattered harmless. Guards grappled. But across the arena, the cask by the royal box burst, oil splashing. A dropped torch igniting bench edges. Fire leapt. Sansa screamed. Arya grabbed her arm. Robert shouted orders. Gold cloak scrambled. Cersei pushed Joffrey behind her.
Ned vaulted Arailing, kept snapping.
He helped drag Loras away from burning tack. Others beat flames. Chaos churned. Amid smoke, Ned spotted Slint fleeing through rear passage. He broke pursuit to haul Arya clear of stamping hooves. Minutes felt like hours, but the fire was quenched. Loras survived. Burns minor. Damage limited. Peter arrived breathless, offering water skins, shouting for healers. His concern looked genuine. But Ned saw calculation flick behind his eyes. Fire failed. Plan shifts. Guards dragged the torchbearer before Robert. The man babbled of coin paid by a hooded stranger. Under questioning, he produced a purse. Lions stamped upon each coin. Robert glowered at Cersei. She recoiled, offended. Ned spoke. "Lannister coins flow through every purse, Your Grace. The hood remains masked." Robert ordered the man hanged. The crowd cheered the execution more than any joust that day. After, Peter murmured to Ned, "Close, was it not? Chaos likes fire." "You like chaos," Ned answered. Peter chuckled. "Chaos is a ladder. I but steady it." Ned caught his arm. "Steady it too long, and those climbing drag you beneath them." Peter's smile widened. "Ah, but I always let go before the fall." He slipped away, leaving Ned with ash on his cloak and fury in his chest. The game bled into fire now. Tomorrow promised finals, and perhaps more than horseflesh would die. In the Red Keep's crypt quiet corridors, Varys approached Ned. "My lord, your sailor witness was murdered." "I know." Ned's voice ground. "Slint. Instrument, not mind." Varys glanced around. "There are deeper currents. The fire today was meant to kill 3. Lord Renly, Queen Cersei, and yourself." Ned stared. "Proof. Proof sifts like sand." Varys opened slim fingers. A spider crawled across his palm, delicate legs touching parchment skin. "But spiders weave patterns. When flames fail, steel may follow. Guard your family well." Ned watched the spider crawl, then leap away into shadow. He looked up to ask more, but Varys had vanished, robes whispering like ghost wings. That night, thunder split skies at last. Rain pounded tiles, sluicing ash from the lists. In his chamber, Ned burned Peter's charred ledger pages in a brazier, watching ink bubble into sparks. Secrets turned smoke, but he had copied them first and hidden the copies in an ironwood chest beneath his bed, sealed with wax bearing the direwolf. Fire removed evidence from prying eyes while preserving truth for a northern winter. He sat on bed edge, exhaustion a lead cloak. Catelyn entered, eyes shining with worry. She touched his shoulder. "Rest. I dare not. You must. Wolves cannot hunt tired." He pulled her close, forehead to hers. "Tomorrow ends the tourney. Then I will gather bannermen. The city watch cannot be trusted. We'll stand together," she promised. They lay beside one another while rain drummed heartbeat rhythm on stone. Sleep dragged him under like Peter's storm waves, and in dreams he stood upon a wall of ice while mockingbirds screamed overhead. Dawn after the storm rose sharp as whetted iron. Streets glittered with puddles. The final justs drew crowds larger than before, eager to wash fear away with spectacle. Ned donned armor beneath his cloak, a knight of the north beneath a lord's garb, ready if fire returned. First match, Jaime Lannister versus Brienne of Tarth. They traded blows 5 passes until Jaime's lance shattered her shield, unseating her. Jaime bowed to cheers. Brienne rose, offered stiff nod. Second, Ser Garland Tyrell against a Dornish knight wrapped in orange silk. Tyrell's horse stumbled in mud. Lance slipped. The Dornishman struck true. Garland flew, rolling, helm dented. Third, Mystery White Knight now unmasked as Ser Barristan himself. Honor reclaimed from lesser tilts against Gregor Clegane. Crowds hushed. 2 legends. They charged like comets. Barristan's lance glanced Gregor's gorget, bruising. Gregor struck Barristan's shield, breaking ribs. But Barristan stayed mounted. Gregor's horse swerved, stumbled. The mountain toppled. Dust billowed. Cheers exploded. Barristan dismounted to salute. Gregor roared, drawing sword to strike. Gold cloaks intervened. During commotion, a figure climbed rafters above the hands box. Cloak soaked, face hidden. Arya spotted him first, nudging Ned. Ned's gaze snapped upward, saw a glint of steel. A small crossbow aimed at Renly laughing with Loras. Ned shouted, shoved past Robert, leapt onto rail, hurled dagger. It struck the assassin's arm. Bolt loosed wild, thudding into post behind Renly's head. Screams erupted. Guards scrambled. Assassin fled across rafters. Ned gave chase, climbing lattice. Rainslick would betrayed footing. He slipped but caught beam. Assassin reached trapdoor, vanished into stands. Ned followed, corridors echoing with boots, adrenaline pumping. At a junction slint's men blocked path, claiming orders to secure area. Assassin lost. Ned returned, shaken. Renly pale yet alive. Robert drunk deeper. Peter offered condolences, pressing fresh wine on Renly. Loras glared at Ned, protective. The tourney ended with Jaime winning final tilt. Crown of Roses presented by Sansa upon Robert's bidding. Peter announced the victor's purse amid thunderous acclaim. Fireworks burst, paid by Tyrells painting sky. Yet Ned saw doom in sparks. Someone wanted Renly dead, perhaps to isolate Robert, or frame Lannisters, or both. Peter orchestrated smiles. Slint obstructed pursuit. Lines converged. That evening Renly sought Ned privately. "I leave tonight," he said, cloak packed. "Storm's end awaits. King's Landing is snake pit." Ned tried to dissuade him, but Renly shook head. "Your daughter's aim saved me. I owe a debt, but I will not stand idle while vipers coil." His eyes hardened. Should Robert fall, crown must pass quickly to one who can wield it. Think on that. He departed with a dozen guards. Ned watched torches snake down road, rain turning them into wavering stars. Midnight draped the red keep when Peter entered. Ed the Hall of Lamps, an abandoned council chamber now his secret office. Captain Corrado awaited, armor damp from sea wind. "Payment," Corrado said. Peter tossed a pouch heavy with gems. For the attempt, not the kill. Crossbowman missed. Stark interfered. Peter poured wine. Next time aim lower. Corrado frowned. Targets change. Always.
Peter sipped.
The board shifts. Renly fled. Robert drinks. Starks dig. We nudge a queen to topple a king. Corrado's knife spun on table. And we profit. Peter's eyes glittered. Until we own the board. He raised his goblet to an unseen audience of ghosts and gods. In his solar Ned finished a letter sealed in snow-white wax. He handed it to Jory. Ride tonight. Deliver to Howland Reed at Greywater Watch. Wait for reply. Jory bowed, eyes somber. As you command. Ned watched him leave, felt weight ease minutely. Read new truths of Jon's parentage, truths that might protect Stark lineage from plots. But trusting secrets to Raven's risked interception, human messengers safer. Catelyn entered, hair unbound. You sent Jory? Yes, we need allies beyond reach of Lannister gold. She touched his jaw. Be careful. Tomorrow council meets. Littlefinger will present proof. He may name you or worse. Let him. Ned wrapped arms around her. Truth is armor. Her embrace tightened. Armor can crack. Tears shimmered. Just come back to me. He kissed her gently. Always. Moonlight pooled across parchment-strewn desk, illuminating the sailor's finger bone. A silent promise spiraling into darkness. Ned blew out candles, yet sleep eluded him. Beyond shuttered windows, the city breathed like a beast settling to dreams. Somewhere a mockingbird sang, notes drifting into night, hopeful, relentless. Unaware dawn carried hunters unafraid of song. And in that hush, Ned Stark vowed that whatever storm Peter Baelish conjured next, winter would answer. Rain-muted dawn lingered like a bruise above King's Landing when Ned Stark woke from a dream of wolves howling inside a hall made of glass. He dressed in silence, the chill of the tiled floor a reminder that summer's grace meant little this far south. Outside, gulls wheeled above the Blackwater in mournful circuits, as though they could taste the treachery on the air and found it salt bitter. He broke fast on oatcakes and figs with Catelyn and their daughters. Sansa sat composed, reciting a passage Queen Nerys once copied for her brother Daeron. Courtesy is a lady's armor. Arya stabbed figs like footpads. Bran, still learning crutches, practiced first steps across the carpet, wobbling between maids. Each movement carved worry lines deeper into Ned's brow. The walls of the Red Keep were too thin to keep whispers out and children safe. A page arrived with summons. The small council would convene at mid-morning. The king wanted answers about the Tourney fire, the assassin on the rafters, the debts still yawning wider than the trident. Ned kissed Kat's knuckles, promised to return by luncheon, and strode into corridors where oil lamps hissed like conspirators. Grand Maester Pycelle was first in the council chamber, fanning away the smell of damp with a scroll. Renly's chair remained vacant. His flight in the night left only a Tyrell-scented rose atop the cushion, a silent farewell or subtle insult. Varys glided in next, followed by Ser Barristan in white. Peter arrived last, leaning on his cane though his step seemed livelier than injury allowed. Cersei took a seat by the windows, though she was no counselor. Robert granted her presence with a shrug and a wineskin. Robert himself thundered in, tunic buttons straining against girth. "Let's have it," he barked, slumping onto the hand's seat until reminded he had his own. Laughter scattered weakly. Tension swallowed the crumbs. Pycelle cleared his throat. "Your Grace, the king's own herald was slain amid the crush last eve. Not by steel but panic. The mob blames poor soldiery. I recommend doubling grain allotments to soften hearts." Robert waved a hand. "We've no coin." "Then stop spending," Ned said. His voice cut through the murmurs. "The treasuries are plundered. We cannot fund tourneys, banquets, or Sellsword bribes. And yet the tourneys' purses were paid," Cersei observed, eyes glinting. "Thanks to Lord Baelish's profitable venture." Peter dipped his head modestly. A small miracle of timing. Ned slammed a ledger on the table. A miracle minted in Lannister gold laundered through Braavosi accounts. Peter raised a brow. Interesting accusation. Do you possess receipts? Ned turned pages. Column after column of fictitious trade companies. Ciphers he had cracked overnight with help from Cat. Bravo's stoneware, he quoted, imported 6,000 barrels of Dornish red. Yet the Dornish levy shows no export. The difference equals the king's purse. Peter's expression never faltered. Creative bookkeeping, perhaps. Or, as often happens, tariffs waived for royal prerogative. Cersei smiled. Waived or waived. Either may apply. Robert snorted. Drink is drink. So long as there's ale in my cup. Leave numbers to those who love counting. Counting may save your life, Ned said sharply. Yesterday's blaze nearly killed Queen and Prince both. Blaze set by scum, Robert countered. We hanged him. One scapegoat, Ned replied. But gold cloaks under Janos Slint blocked pursuit of the mastermind. Varys spoke softly. Captain Slint's loyalties can be steered if coin flows. Robert slammed the table. Enough of coin, talk of steel. If assassins lurk, I'll have heads on spikes. Then begin with Slint, Ned urged. Replace him with men of proven honor. Robert hesitated. Command of the watch is no small matter. Give it to Ser Barristan, Ned suggested. The old knight bowed but shook his head. My place is with the Kingsguard. Then Ser Rabar Royce, Ned pressed. Peter smiled thinly.
Bronze Yonesson?
An Arryn loyalist. Interesting choice given tensions in the Vale. Ned turned on him. And what tensions would those be? Peter spread hands. Only whispers. Lady Lisa has closed mountain passes. Mustering knights. Pycelle wheezed. A defensive measure against clansmen. Surely. Or against impeachment. Peter murmured, voice silk-soft. Ned's patience frayed. We require proof. Produce it. Peter angled his face toward Robert. Your Grace, grant me leave to gather depositions from survivors of the wreck.
Ive dispatched emissaries.
When they return, truth will lay bare. Robert nodded, bored. Fine. Do it.
Ned clenched fists.
More delays, more shadows. Peter rose, cane tapping. If counsel pleases, I must see to the counting Lord Stark so despises. Bowed. Departed. Cersei followed with a knowing glance, trailing citrus perfume that overpowered Varys's lilac. Meeting adjourned. Robert lumbered away toward the practice yard, craving the clangor of steel over quills. Ned lingered with Barristan. Will you ride patrol? He asked quietly. I will, my lord, and I will keep eyes on the gold cloaks. Trust only your own men, Ned warned. Slint sells loyalty by the pound. Barristan's weathered hand clasped Ned's forearm. Honor stands, he said, and left. Outside the council tower, Jory Castle galloped in through the mud-slick courtyard, cloak dripping road grime. He dismounted, eyes hollow. Lord Stark, he gasped, freckles salt-pale. A heavy rider set upon us near Sow's Horn. I escaped, but 2 men dead. Howland Reed's lands flooded. He pledges support. Sent this. He produced a bundle wrapped in oiled leather. A gray reed tied with a ribbon of watery green, Reed's sigil, and a scroll bearing a direwolf stamped in fresh blue wax. Ned broke the seal. The parchment was sparse. Eddard, the crannigs stir. Old vows hold. If wolves call, reeds will rise. Secrets kept remain safe in their shell. Do not crack shells lightly or vermin slip out. Trust stone you would die for. Ned folded the letter with care, heart easing a fraction. Howland Reed's cryptic words warned but promised loyalty. Allies beyond the neck would march if summoned. He clasped Jory's shoulder. Rest, then gather trustworthy men. Ride circuit tonight. I, my lord, take 4 ravens. If you encounter Lannister patrols, send word. Jory nodded, limped away. Catelyn met Ned near the Chapel of the Seven, where marble saints cast long afternoon shadows. She looked weary but resolute, parchment stained with lemon in hand. Another cipher decoded. Peter mentions silk spear, to strike at drunken stag. Could be assassination of Robert. Ned's stomach lurched. When? After the queen's pledge ripens into thorn, I cannot place the hour. He exhaled. We must confront Robert. Cat shook head. He'll dismiss talk of ciphers. She touched Ned's cheek. Better gather evidence first. Footsteps interrupted. Arya scurried up with a stable boy's cap crooked on her braid. Father, I followed the hound. He met a man in a butcher's shop who sells crossbows without Fletcher's marks. They spoke of shipment to the tower at dusk.
Ned knelt.
You followed Sandor? Alone? I had Nymeria, she lied. Nymeria had vanished months ago. No one saw me. Cat's eyes flashed storm. Ned tempered it. Good work. But next time take a guard. She scuffed toe. Guards clank. Even silent shadows need watchmen, he said. Return to Septa now. She went grudgingly. Cat spoke once Arya rounded a colonnade. We can use Sandor. He loathes Lannisters save Cersei. Perhaps. Ned studied the parchment again. Silk spear. Could be Tyrell, their colors green and gold. But silk matches many houses. Or Sparrow cult?
Cat gwesed.
Rabble-rousers wear rough cloth, not silk. Ned's thoughts shifted. Spear may be metaphor. A decree, a letter. He sighed. Layers upon layers. Evening draped violet across rooftops when Ned received invitation to Peter's manse on the Street of Girls. Against Cat's counsel, he went with a slim guard. Torchlight painted red on silk banners depicting mockingbirds mid-song. Inside, perfumed courtesans glided among pillows while musicians played soft lute chords. Peter greeted Ned with a goblet already poured. To wolves, he toasted, who prowl where lions dare not. Ned ignored the cup. Speak plainly, Baelish. Peter gestured toward an inner room. After you. They entered a study-lined floor to rafters with ledgers. Candles burned in copper sconces shaped like serpents, wicks hissing faintly. On a table lay a folded map of the city, red wax markers pinning unspecified sites. Peter closed the door. What would you pay for a list of spies on your household? My trust, Ned said flatly, which you lost long ago. Peter sighed melodramatically. Mistrust blinds men. I offer names. Messengers feeding the queen tales of your letters. In return, call off your investigation into Bravosi tariffs. It endangers delicate balances. Balances woven to enrich you. And the realm, Peter said. Gold flows, streets stay calm. Break the conduit and city starves. Yet you conspire to kill the king? Peter laughed, warm, genuine. Kill Robert?
Gaths? No.
His appetite funds half my ventures. The silk spear points elsewhere. Explain. He tapped the map. Here at the Dragon Pit tomorrow evening. A conclave of faith militant fanatics. They intend to riot against the Queen for sins unconfessed. A single spark, say a Tyrell agent's purse, turns riot into coup. Robert dies if he rides to quell it. My agents will scatter them first, but only if I'm unhindered.
Ned glared.
Trust you to prevent a riot you may have ignited. Peter spread hands. Chaos profits, but chaos kills investors too. I prefer controlled markets. Ned considered. Give me the fanatic leaders. I'll arrest them. Peter shook head. Arrest one Hydra head, two grow. Better bribe them off.
Bride corruption.
Peter chuckled.
Corruption bride stability.
Fear of losing coin tames men better than iron. Ned's fists tightened. Your philosophy soils everything it touches. And yet, Peter murmured, stepping closer. Here you are, seeking answers only I provide. We are what the game demands, Stark. Wolves with mockingbird feathers, mockingbirds with wolf teeth. Pretend otherwise and the lions feast. Ned tore the map, scattering wax markers. If any riot sparks, I'll hold you responsible. Peter's eyes glittered. Then you'd better guard the spark. Ned left the manse unsettled, moonlight fanning silver across damp cobbles. Jory met him at the gate. Fresh tracks near the Dragon Pit, the captain reported. Crates unloaded from wagons marked with Faith's seven-pointed star. Ned mounted his horse. Send 4 squads to watch but not engage. I'll speak with High Septon at dawn." He paused. "And double pickets around the Queen's apartments." Jory frowned. "Suspect her. Suspect everyone," Ned said. As sunrise bells tolled for matins, Ned met the High Septon in Baylor September, stained glass spilling rainbows across marble. The Septon, an obese man whose velvet robes could clothe 50 beggars, listened as Ned relayed rumors of militant gatherings. His jowls quivered. "The faith militant exists no more, my lord. His Grace Mager saw to that centuries ago." Ned remained silent. After a beat, the Septon dabbed sweat. "Zealots roam, true, but none threaten peace." "Then you will publicly denounce riots from the pulpit," Ned said. The Septon bridled. "Accusations lacking proof demean the cloth, meaning you fear losing donations if you condemn them." The Septon's eyes hardened behind watery blue. "Gold oil's sanctity."
Ned straightened.
"Sanctity needs no oil." Leaning heavily on his rod, the Septon turned away. "I shall pray for guidance." Ned left with fists clenched. Even the gods were for sale here. That afternoon Catelyn slipped through Fishreek alleys to an abandoned warehouse along the rush where Roderick had trailed a Tyroshi messenger. Inside she found barrels of lamp oil stacked to rafters, crates of pitch, sacks of lye, ingredients for wildfire substitutes. Picked among them, a banner of crimson to herald flame. Roderick's torch illuminated a sigil stitched hastily, a burning heart within a stag's crown, the fiery stag of Lawler cults, Stannis's rumored faith.
Cats pulse quikened.
"Plant evidence," she whispered. "Frame Stannis for riot." Roderick nodded grimly. "We burn this lest it burn the city?" "Not yet," she decided. "Bring Ned. He must see." They concealed the banner and slipped away, unaware of eyes glinting behind wine casks. Sandor Clegane brought Arya a practice sword. Castle-forged steel but blunted, no ornament. "Your father commands I train you where others see." Arya's smile cracked across freckles. "You'll teach me? I'll keep you alive." He held a buckler. "Swing." She swung. He blocked easily, corrected footwork, barked at sloppy parries. Sweat soaked her tunic but fierceness shone. Sansa watched from gallery, fingers white on railing. The hound barked again. "Feet, girl, not wings." Arya lunged, slipped, rolled, recovered. Sandor grunted approval. "You fight like a wolf pup. Teeth too big for jaw, but spirit enough." He leaned close. "Remember, stick them with the pointy end, then twist." She grinned. Sansa shuddered. After practice, the hound offered Arya a water skin. She drank, eyes bright. "Why help me?" "Because knights save maidens," he said, voice rough. "And I am no knight. We all choose monsters we hate least." He turned before gratitude formed and strode into sunlit courtyard where sparrows chirped louder than lords. By dusk, Ned, Cat, and Roderick returned to the warehouse with a dozen guards. But inside only guttered lantern stubs remained, barrels gone. In their place lay a single mockingbird feather pinned to a post with a slender dagger. Ned plucked it, palm trembling. Peter's sign that he was still several moves ahead. Cat touched his arm. "He knows we found his evidence. Or he staged the evidence for us to find," Ned replied. "The riot may still come." They hurried back toward the keep. Midway, bells clanged alarm. Smoke plumed over the Dragon Pit Hill. Shouts echoed between stone walls.
Ned cursed.
"To the pit!" They galloped uphill. Crowds surged like a storm tide. Torchlight flickered off iron helms. Zealots in rough-spun waved banners of the Seven. Others, robed in red silk, brandished fiery stag emblems. Between them, blades flashed. Barrels of pitch ignited, flames licking sky. Ned drew sword, shouted for order. Guards formed wedge, but fanatic frenzy spilled like water around stone. Ned spied Janos Slint's men on perimeter, but they held ranks, watching rather than charging. Betrayal again. Cat remained mounted behind, Roderick shielding. She saw Peter at the pit's eastern stairs, cane discarded, cloak thrown back, gesturing to Sells-words in Second Son's colors. They shepherded civilians toward a side street, saving them or corralling them. Hard to know. Ned pressed forward, parried a zealot's rusty blade. Smoke burned lungs, screams soared. He reached a raised dais where a priest of the Seven and a red priestess hurled scripture at one another. He shouted for them to stand down. Neither listened. A zealot hurled a clay jug, smashed, liquid splattering dais. Ned smelled lamp oil. Before he could move, a torch sailed. Flames roared. The red priestess shrieked, robes blazing. The crowd screamed. Panic surged. Someone toppled the dais. Ned hauled the masterly priest down, rolled him away. Sudden clarion sounded. A horn of polished bone. From the pit's north gate, Ser Barristan led 20 white-cloaked knights, their swords unsheathed. They charged through the mob, smashing zealots aside with hilt and shield, not blade, shouting orders. Their discipline cut a path to Ned. Barristan's helm glinted. "My lord, withdraw. Not without Cat." Ned pointed. Barristan signaled 2 knights. They escorted Ned back through chaos. He found Cat unhorsed but covering a wounded child behind a half-collapsed wagon. Roderick fought overhead, axe dripping. Flames crackled. Smoke thickened. Barristan's men formed circle, shepherding bystanders into safe alley. Peter's Sells-words joined, weirdly efficient. Ned glimpsed Baelish overseeing triage like benevolent ghost. When dawn's first gray bled across horizon, the flames were dying, soot coating cobbles. Dozens dead, hundreds injured. The king had never arrived. Robert passed out drunk in his chambers, oblivious. Ned confronted Peter near the smoking husk of a wagon. "You promised to prevent this." Peter wiped soot from cuff. "Imagine carnage had I not discreetly hired Sells-words to protect small folk." "You hired the zealots too. Prove that." Peter's smile was tired cedar. "I offered you partnership. You chose suspicion." Ned's sword hilt loomed between them. Peter's eyes flashed interest. Then Varys appeared, robes scorched. "My lords, further violence aids only our enemies." Fingers point toward House Baratheon's fractured brothers now. The city teeters. Ned sheathed blade. To Peter, "This is not over." "Nothing ever is," Baelish replied. Later Ned addressed Robert in the throne room. The king listened aghast, a hangover pounding behind his eyes. Cersei glowered at every mention of negligence, but Robert waved her silence. When Ned demanded Janos Slynt stripped of command, Robert agreed with a curse. Barristan would lead the watch until a new commander chosen. Cersei's gaze iced over. Ned felt her hatred like frostbite. Peter stood by the doors, fingers laced, as though witnessing theater. Robert dismissed court. As they filed out, Cersei hissed at Ned. "You spatter my crown with guilt to mask your own failures." He bowed stiffly. "I shielded your son."
Isag no crown.
"Good. You shall have none." She swept past. Peter lingered. "Janos will not forgive you. He'll have no chance. He leaves tonight for the wall." Peter chuckled. "Sending wolves to the wall fitting. Yet frost can preserve venom." Ned moved closer. "I will expose you." "Expose what?" Peter's breath smelled of mint. "Survival? Innovation. You'll find only mirrors of your own reluctance." Ned turned away before fury shattered restraint. On the King's Road that evening, Janos Slynt rode in chains flanked by Stark guards. At the crossroads, in a hooded figure barred the path, presenting a royal writ with golden seal. Jory inspected. The seal appeared true. The writ ordered Slynt's execution for treason en route rather than exile. Confused, Jory followed protocol. They led Slynt behind the stable and beheaded him. Only later, paper scraped to candle flame revealed the seal a masterful forgery. The hooded courier vanished into oak shadow the moment sword fell. Night rolled across the keep. Catelyn found Ned upon the ramparts, wind stirring his cloak. "We survived," she said, "at cost." His voice a flint. "I cannot shield Robert forever, nor our children." "Then leave," she urged. Return north, call bannermen, force the king to face truth. He'll call it treason. The realm already bleeds treason. She touched his chest. We stand on sand. Stone waits at Winterfell. Down in the yard, Arya practiced under torchlight with the hound. Sansa recited prayers beside a weirwood sapling transplanted from the godswood. Bran hobbled on crutches, Rickon chased pups. The north beat in their blood, though southern stars watched. Ned's eyes softened. Soon, one more truth uncovered, one more knot untied. Then we ride. And overhead, the comet many would later claim as sword of the gods flashed faint along horizon. Herald of storms none yet knew. In distant Gulltown, a raven landed on Lysa Arryn's balcony. She broke the seal to read Baelish's ring brought safe. His note. The board must tilt toward the rook. Stir winds. Lysa trembled, heart fluttering. She summoned Ser Vardy's Aegon. Send riders, she commanded. Close the bloody gate. No letter enters or leaves without my hand. Above the airy mountain winds howled agreement. On Dragonstone, Stannis viewed a parchment from his agents. Riot in King's Landing, zealots bearing his new fiery stag banner. He crushed the note. Baelish's trickery. Melisandre's eyes glowed in torch glow. Shadows swing swords unseen. Stannis's jaw flexed. Then I ride at dawn. To claim your right? She asked. To expose lies. He clenched gauntlets. And if truth crowns me, so be it. The Red Woman smiled. The night is dark, she whispered, but flames dance for you. Far across the sea, Peter Baelish listened to a caged canary sing in his manse while he penned new ledgers. Slint was dead, a pawn removed. Next would be Bishop, maybe Stark, maybe Stannis. He sipped arbor gold and mused on ladders, each rung built from ash of yesterday's fire. He would climb until stars burned out or wings failed. And Ned Stark, seated before his desk, unrolled another parchment. The steward's report on iron reserves of Winterfell, enough to equip 2,000 men. He dipped quill, began writing summons. Manderley, Glover, Hornwood. The wolf stirred, yet neither man saw the shadow that slipped through Red Keep kitchens that same hour. A boy no older than 12, face innocuous, pockets full of sparrow feathers tinged in purple dye. He stole past dozing guards into the eastern tower, climbed stairs until a locked door barred ascent. From his satchel, he drew 2 slender tools, tickled tumblers until the lock yielded. Inside, shelves lined with parchments slept. He selected one bearing the hand seal, another bearing Baelish's, tucked them under tunic, and vanished down spiral stair, leaving door swinging. Dawn would find the tower empty, but by then the boy would board a river skiff bound for Maidenpool, paid with coin minted in bravos. And somewhere in the east, a gaunt woman with mismatched eyes awaited the parchments that would decide who wore crowns, who wore chains, and who bled on altars of avarice. The game kept breathing, and every breath tasted of smoke. Ned did not sleep that night. He wrote letters until candle flame guttered. Pleas for harvest aid from Tully Lords, subtle warnings to King Robert's brothers on Dragonstone and Storm's End, instructions to Winterfell's steward to send Maester Luwin's ravens at first thaw. When eastern sky bruised violet, he stood, joints aching, and unbarred the window. Cool air smelled of ash still. Somewhere below, the river lapped at quay pilings. He closed his eyes and listened, not for gulls, but for cracking ice of home, for wind in lonely pines. He swore he could hear it faint, urging him northward, but a wolf's duty ran where pack roamed. For now that pack lay within these red walls. Until they were free, he would remain. Steel caged in flesh, patience sharp as blade. Dawn parted cloud and spilled pale light across his desk, gilding the sailor's bone, the mockingbird feather, the reed-bound letter. 3 tokens, 3 vows. He set them in a row. Stone, he whispered, quoting Howland's warning. Stone you would die for. And somewhere beyond the break of day, stone began to move.